Let's look for the first section. Let's look at the basic pattern, which is right here in the middle. This repeated pattern between the two bars, just to make sure we're comfortable with that, and then we'll talk about all the cutting, subida, all that fun stuff that comes with it. So your basic pattern is going to be hand, hand, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, E, 1, 2, and 3, 4, E, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, E, 1. And just a reminder, the left hand, or whatever hand is playing the hand part, is extremely important. If you just focus on the stick, you're never going to play this drum right. You have to mark the left hand for 1, the swing, 2, keeping yourself in time, and it just, like, it doesn't sound the same. That's the other part. Without the hand in there, it is not the part. So make sure you really focus on keeping your hand in time and making it an integral part of your pattern. So one more time, just let's play the basic pattern and then we'll talk about how to get in and out of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Again, you're just placing your hand, not trying to hit it, not trying to do something like that, just resting your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. Yeah, so just reiterate. There are times when you can go crazy and do some slaps on this drum, but for the most part, you're not pressing, you're just dropping. Nope, I don't know who that is. So, resting your hand on the drum. So, let's get into how to get in and out of this pattern. So, typically, when you start up the samba ensemble, the hepaniki player is going to give a call, and we are going to respond to it with a little subida. Subida comes from the verb subir, which is to climb. So we are climbing into the pattern. It's a way of getting into it, getting into the groove. So using a really basic idea of a call, duka duka dukara pruka dukaraka boom bing doon ging doon ging doon ding doon ding doon ding chukiki doon. Oh, interesting. The live. Actually, I can move it in live, so thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. Let's move that. Does that work better? I appreciate that feedback, Ian. That's awesome. Luckily, because this software is so awesome, I can move it live. All right, so let me know how that works. So if you can see in the notation over here, the pattern is coming in on beat 2. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. A little bit more. It can for now. There's going to be more things popping up on the right shortly, so I'll have to move it back, but let's see. How's that? Wait for that feedback to come through. That's so awesome. I love watching it move on the screen. How's that? Perfect. All right. Excellent. Yay. Thank you. I love this software so much. Again, OBS, Open Broadcaster System. This software is fantastic. Okay. So we have our call. 1 and 2 and 3. Ba ba bruka tukaraka. And that tukaraka is happening right at beat 1, where this rest is right here. So tuka tuka. Tukara, bruka, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. That's okay, Gianni, that's awesome. So each of those rests that are written up there is where your hand is going to be playing. And again, hand is very important. So we got 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, E, 1. And I I've seen a lot of people who are learning third Surdo kind of get confused in the number of counts that you're supposed to be, number of hits before you go back into your normal pattern. And I find it a lot more useful to think of counting 1, 2, 3, and 4 rather than thinking 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's really easy to get lost in the counts that way. So it really helps if you can do counting on your fingers or counting with your feet if you're stepping 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and you're always coming out of it after beat 4, and then you're going to start your pattern again on 1. So counting without playing, just from the entry, tuka tuka tukara bruka tukaraka dun 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 giki 1, and that's where you're going to start in with your basic pattern over there. So let's give that a shot. 1. So here's the hepaniki call. 1, 2, hepaniki. Tuka, tuka, tukara, bruka, tukaraka. 1, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1. And that is where you're going to start your basic pattern. So let's go into it, and then we'll try some different stuff. Tuka, tuka, tukara, bruka. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Here's your basic pattern. Now when we end the virada, instead of playing the muted notes around it, we're in this samba school, so there's other drums playing that part. So all we have to do is play the and of 2. So here's our virada out after this cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, and your hand is taking place of what the second Surdo is doing, because they're already playing bing it boom bing. That's your second Surdo. So all we have to do is boom bing, and that's how we close. All right, so let's do that whole cycle one more time. I do want to throw it out there that this Surdo pattern, this basic Surdo pattern over there, it's a very common pattern. It is not the only one. There are some samba schools that do different things, like 1, 2, 3. Or if you're Manguera, you go 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. So each of the samba schools has their own little version of it, but I think this is one of the most common ones out there, and it's one especially a lot of schools outside of Brazil use. So just throwing that out there. If you learned a different pattern, it's not necessarily wrong. It might just be from a different school. All right, so let's do the call in one more time. 1, 2, call, go. Tuka, tuka, tukara, bruga. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Alright, let's do the call out. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, cool. Got that. Basic. So that's how we come in. Now, there's a couple other subidas that can happen, and let's go to my next thing over here. Let's move that about there. Hopefully that works. So we're going to look now about how to do a little subida coming out of a virada. So a virada, we already did half of it, when we stop. Now if we're going to keep going, you just do that same figure twice. And then you play the exact same subida we just played, only it's going to feel a little bit longer because we don't have that rest on beat 1 that we had before. Now we're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and versus 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. So just to go over that top line of notation up there, it's going to be 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1. And that lands us on the pattern. So again, this is why I don't really like counting the number of hits you do before coming out of the subida. This is why I think it's really important to learn to count to 4 and keep track of where you are based on the counting of the beats rather than the number of hits. So just to make sure you know where beat 1 is, we're going ba-ka-da-ka-da, ba-ba-bru-ka-da, and 1. That's where you're going to start counting your 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, ba-ka-da-ka-da, ba-ba-bru-ka-da, and 1. So that's where we start. All right, now let's continue. 2, 3, 4, ba-ka-da-ka-da, ba-ba-bru-ka-da, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. Okay? Karen has arrived. Bing and bong are complete. All right, let's do that same thing again. Make sure, if you can at home, really try counting along. It's very important to audibly say the counts if you can. Strongly recommend it. All right, here we go. Same thing. 1, 2, virada, ba-ka-da-ka-da, ba-ba-bru-ka-da, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, pattern. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So keep going. We're going to start again at the top, directly from the pattern. So we'll do the virada, subida, and then into the pattern again. 1, 2, 3, 4, ba-ka-da-ka-da, ba-ba. Don't forget to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. All right, one more time. Virada, subida. 1, 2, 3, 4, ba-ka-da-ka-da, ba-ba-bru-ka-da, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now we're just gonna do the virada and end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I hope that makes sense in keeping track of the beats rather than the counts. And that's your Subida 101. You can do that after any virada, after any call, and that'll function in just about any group. But things get more interesting once you start playing with it, because this drum has the freedom to solo a little bit. It has to be within a certain framework, but you are allowed to do some variations here. And there are a lot of, all the samba and heidus have specific variations that they do along to the song in specific sections. So if you're learning a song, it's really important that all the third Surdus learn the same variations together. But if you're the only third Surdo, or maybe you're just in a group and you're not playing along to a specific song, you do have some liberty, check with your directors first, to do some varying and soloing that makes everything a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to move this back over because I think we all know this basic part now. We don't need to see the basic groove. And we're going to open up another slide. Woo! Love this program so much. So this, we're going to start looking at some basic variations that you can do to spice up your pattern. This first one here is, it's going to be a 2-bar phrase, and it's going to go a little something like this. So again, your left hand is marking the beat here. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 3, and 1 is the first beat. And that's the same variation, just about the same variation we do in the basic part right there. We're just taking out the beat 2 and we're playing it with our hand instead. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 3, and 1. One more time, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 3, and 1. One more time, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 3, and 1. Now let's look at the second Where is it? There it is. Over there. The second measure of it. Same idea, except we're going to double up the number of E's and U's. So if we start at the beginning of the bar, 1, 2, and 3, E, 4, E, 1. Again, and 1, 2, and 3, E, 4, E, 1. 2, one more time, and 1, 2, and 3, E, 4, E, 1. Now let's try putting the two of them together. Just go straight, one after the other, and then we'll stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, E, and 1, 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. Let's go again. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, E, and 1, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. One more time, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, E, and 1, 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. So these are just ideas that you can use. You almost think of them as little cells that you can put in different places. You can kind of cut and paste these different variations and then stick them in where you want to do it. So with the whole pattern that's written up there, we've got our basic groove, and then we've got a subida, and we can come out of that subida and tag on these two bars before going back to the groove at the top. So let's give it a shot. Let's actually start right on the subida. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, O, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 E, O, 1, 2 and 3 E, O, 4 E, a groove. Okay, so subida, variation, groove. 1, 2, subida, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, variation. 3 and 4 E, 1, 2 and groove. Alright, let's do the same thing again. We're going to go straight from the groove to the subida, to the variation, back to the groove. Here we go. Here's the subida. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. E, a variation. And 3, and sorry, I hit the wrong one. 4, groove. So let's do it again for me. Here we go. Here's the subida. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 E, 1, 2 and 3 E, 4 E, groove. Now, just to mix it up, let's go straight from the groove to the variation. We're going to skip over the subida. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 E, 1, 2, and 3 E, and 4 E, a groove. Alright, let's mix it up one more time. We're going to go straight to the variation, then the subida, and then the groove. So directly from the groove to the variation, to the subida, back to the groove. Here's the variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 E, 1, 2, and 3 E, subida. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, groove. So that's just a little example of how these are just little modular things that you can put almost wherever you want. As long as you start and stop them in the right places, you're kind of at liberty to throw them in. As long as you're not messing up the rest of the ensemble. I think all of us who get excited about third go through phases where we want to play all the crazy stuff all the time, and it's not really serving the music and serving the ensemble, and it might actually throw people off. So make sure you're being tasteful, just like a good chef throwing in your spices, a tasteful amount of spices. So let's look at another variation now. This one is going to be dealing with all E's and U's. So just to look at the variation, counting it out, 1, 2, E, 3, E, sorry, 1, 2, E, 3, 4, E, 1. Just the first measure, 1, 2, E, 3, 4, E, 1. One more time, and 1, 2, E, 3, 4, E, 1. Now let's look at the second half. We go 1, 2, E, 3, E, 1. Try it again, and 1, 2, E, 3, E, 1. And make sure that you're keeping the first note of the stick nice and close to the first note of the hand. 3, E, and up, 4, E, and up. Because there's technically 4 hits in the space of each beat. 4 E and up, E and 2 E and 3 E and up, 4 E and up, E and up. So the and is not getting played, and there needs to be a space there, but not too much space, just a little bit. So just the second measure again: 3, 4, 1 E and 2 E and up, 3 E and up, E and up, 1, 2 E and up, 3 E and up, E and up. Oh. So let's put both of those together, and so counting wise, it's going to be 1, 2 E 3, 4 E 1, 2 E 3 E 4 E 1. 2 E 3, 4 E 1, 2 E 3 E 4 E 1. Try it out, and 1, 2 E 4 E 1, 2 E 3 E 1, 2 E 3 1, 2 E 1 more time, 2 E 3 1. So let's do that one, and the same thing we just did. I'm actually going to move this over, and we can do it in and out of the basic part. Let's not worry about the subida just yet. Actually, oop, no. Everything is so editable. Love it. There we go. All right, so we're going to try to do this like that. So we've got our basic pattern, and we've got this little variation, and then we'll try with the subida. Moving all the things on the screen over there. All right, so we're gonna groove, and we're gonna come and play this variation, then we'll go back to the groove. 1, 2, groove, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Here comes the variation. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 E 3, 4 E 1, 2, 3, 4, groove. One more time of the groove, then we'll do the variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 E 3, 4 E 1, 2 E 3, groove. Now let's add in the subida, just to make things a little bit more interesting. Throw that there, throw that there. And so we've got, again, our 3 different cells. We've got the groove, we've got the subida, and the variation. So we can do those in any kind of order that we want. So let's groove, let's do the subida, variation, and then from there I will call it. 1, 2, groove, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, subida to the variation. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Back to the groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Alright, let's try the variation and then the subida and then back to the groove. One more cycle. Variation, subida, groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1. Subida, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, groove. Alright, let's get really wild. Let's do the subida, the variation twice, and then back to the groove. Alright, after this cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, subida, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, back to the groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and we'll end. Alright, cool. So let's move on to a different one, because I got all kinds of goodies for you guys here. Oops, that's not the right one. Different hotkey. There it is. Okay, so getting into some interesting stuff here. So looking specifically at this variation, this one is a little bit more modern. I've only really seen this one starting to happen in the last maybe 5 to 10 years versus classic samba, root samba. So this one, you're getting a hit on the of 1, where you're going 1 E and 2, landing with your hand on beat 2. 1 E and 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2, 3, 4. So then after the 1 E and a 2, we're going to have a 3 and 4 E a 1. So let's just look at the first bar. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4 E a stop. Again, first bar. 1, 2, 3, and 4 E a 1. One more time. And 1, 2, 3, and 4 E a 1. Now the second bar is going to start the same way. So 1, 2, and then we're just going to do a 3 E, 4 E, 1. So same idea, just putting these little pieces together, these little cells in different spots. Alright, so just the second bar. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 E, 4 E, 1. Second bar again. 1, 2, 3 E, 4 E, 1. One more time. And 1, 2, 3 E, 2. Now let's put both of them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 E, 1, 2, 3 E, 4 E, 1. One more time, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 E, 1, 2, 3 E, 4 E, 1. Alright, so now let's go, we'll leave it up there like that. We're just going to do the basic groove, do this variation, and then go back to the groove. So groove, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try the variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2. Groove. Variation. let's do the subida into the variation, back to the groove. 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 4, 8, 1, 2. Back to the groove. 1. Let's do that whole cycle again. Subida variation back to the groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 2. Awesome. I like that one a lot. That one's really fun to do. Now let's reverse it. Let's do the variation and then the subida and then back to the groove. Just mix it up. 1, 2, variation, go. 1 and 2. 1, 3, and 1 and 2. Subida, 1 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I also love the syncopation. Terceira. It's so much fun. Let's do that same one again. Variation, subida, back to the groove. After this cycle, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 3 and 1 and 2. Subida, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. We got a couple more variations. Let's go to our next one. All right, this is one of my favorite ones of all time. This one involves some muting as well as open playing. So the sticking is up there as well. You can check it out. So the dotted notes again are muted notes, and the dotted left hands are where you're going to be placing your hand and muting the hand on the drum itself. So just to break it down bit by bit, the first couple beats, the left hand is a mute, followed by a muted right hand stroke. So 1 and. It's also going to be the same on 3 and. That's awesome. All right. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Mute, mute, 2 and 4. 1 and 2 and hand, rest. 1 and 2 and hand. Again. 1 and 2 and 1 and 1 and 2 and hand, mute. 1 and 2 and 1 and. Then after that last hit, you're just going to have a little touch of the left hand. It's not a full stroke of playing it. So it's going to be touch me with your right hand with the stick hand. So just beat 4 is touch me and then you put your hand down again. So just looking at the second half, I'm still getting used to this. Yeah, no, yeah, whatever, you get the idea. Beats 3 and 4. It's going to be 3 and touch me and 3 and 4 E hand and 3 and 4 E hand. Okay, so let's put the whole first bar together. It's going to be 3, 4, mute, mute, and mute, mute, touch me hand and. And it helps me remember this one thinking of the sounds that you're making. So I sing this in my head as I'm playing it. Dunki, go, go, dunki, go, go. And do, ki, gong, gong, dun, ki, gong, gong. Try it out. Yeah, the little circles, I think on the other ones I was using a little plus sign, but those are, that's the signal that you're muting. Either putting your hand on the drum and holding it there, or you're playing with the stick and muting it with your hand. So if it's a left hand with a circle, you're placing your hand and leaving it there. If it's a right hand with a circle, your left hand is already in place and you're playing it muted. All right, so let's do the first bar again. 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. E, 2 again and 1 E, 2 and 3 and 4 E, and then be sure to put your hand down afterwards. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, okay. One more time, and 1 and 2 and 3 and touch. All right, so that's measure 1. Let's look at measure 2 now. Almost the same, but just a little variation on the second half of it, below the notes. Those are just little L's and R's, left and right. So L for left hand, R for right hand. Hopefully it's big enough that it comes out clear. If you're watching on your phone, it might be a little small to see what they are. But hopefully it makes sense. Okay, so the second bar is going to be, start the same way as the first. 1 and 2 and then after that we're just going to go 3 E, 4 E, like that. 3 E, 4 E, in the notes. Oh, the little dashes, that just indicates that it's a 16th note. So let's see if I can find how to point. Nope. So those notes where there's just a little extra dash, that indicates that it's a 16th note, which has half the value duration of an 8th note. So it's just faster notes essentially. Okay, so second bar, the second half, 3 E, 4 E, and we've already done that in some of the other variations. Again, the idea that these are modular, you're just taking little pieces and kind of stringing them together. So measure 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 E, 4 E, and 2 again and hand mute open 3 E, 4 E, 2 again and 3 one more time and 1 and 2 and 3 and sorry, that was the first bar. 1 and 2 and 3 4 E, 1. Right, so now let's put these both together. They don't have to go together. I like this sequence personally, but you can just do one, you can just do other, you can change the order of them. These are just little modules that you can do whatever you want with. So, but putting these two together as they are goes like this: 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, 1 and 2 and 3 E, 1. Try it again and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, 1. One more time and 1. Alright, and just to prove the point of them being modular, let's switch them around. Let's do the second bar first, and then we'll do the first bar. Start on the second half. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E. See, it works the same way, just depending on how you want to phrase it. So let's now go to the groove, and let's try going from the groove. Why am I in battery saver mode? I should be plugged in. Oh, let me turn on the power strip that my computer is plugged into real quick, so I don't run out of battery. 1 second. All right. Hopefully that did the trick. Am I plugged in? Yes, I'm plugged in. All right, sorry about that. Let's get back into it. So we're gonna groove, and then skip the subida for the moment and go into this little variation. So here's the groove. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, David, that is correct. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to go into that variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, Let's do the variation again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, now let's add the subida. We'll do subida into the variation, back to the groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 3, 4, 1. Groove. All right, let's do that same thing one more time. Subida, variation, groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, Sweet. So that variation is super fun, especially when you're going fast tempos. I love that variation. That one is fantastic. I think I learned that from Dana Montero of Harlem Samba School. And much thanks, Dana. That was an awesome workshop you gave in LA. All right. So this little pattern is super fun. This variation I learned from Vaguinho do Repique this last trip to Brazil, and I had not seen this one before, and I think it's super groovy, and I think you guys will like it too. The pattern itself, let's look at just beat 3 so far. We already know what a 2 and sounds like. So beat 3 is. So for the first time, we're taking our left hand away from the beat and we're playing it actually going to be on the 1 E and a 2 E, 3 E and a 4 E and a 3. So you're doing 2 hits with your right hand, a single hit with your right hand, and then another 2 hits. So 2, 1, 2. And then just with a touch on your left hand in between each of those. And you start with your left. So 1, 2, 3, E and a 4 E and a again. 3 E and a 4 E and a again. the last part of measure 1. And technically the first half of the second measure as well. So this ba da ba ba da ba da ba ba da ba 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 ba. That's the figure we're looking at. So 1, 2, 3, again. 3 and 4 and one more time. 3 and 4 and boom boom boom. 3 and 4 and so now let's add beat 1 and 2 of the first bar. So we're gonna play the whole first bar in its entirety. Go 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and again. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and obrigada, gracias, Israel. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 again. One more time. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and now to get into the second bar, we just repeat the same phrase that we just played on 3 and 4 of the first bar. So this 1, 3 and just play it twice. Just try that 2 times in a row. Ready, again. And that brings us to beat 3. And beat 3, we're going to use the same figure we've already used a couple times to get out of it. We're going to go 3E, 4E, 1, 2, 3E, 4E, 1. Obrigada, Fábio. 3E, 4E, 1. So let's do that little figure twice, and we'll do the 3E, 4E out of the figure. So 1, 2, 3, and 4E. There's a lot of notes in there, but hang on, you'll get through it. 3E, 4E, 1, 2, 3. I counted myself off. Let's just do the whole thing together. Sometimes it's easier. Vou ver. Vamos ver. Entender las partículas. Eu acho que sim. Vou botar as coisas lá no YouTube e podemos gravar as coisas lá, tá? Sim. Me chama para uma aula particular, tá? Alright, so let's do this whole phrase together. And we're just gonna, let's cycle it and it'll get easier once you get the phrase of it. So 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Woo! Again and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is one of those you just kind of got to power through it till you get to the end of it. 1, 2, one more time, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sweet. All right, let's try going from the basic groove over to this variation and see how that goes. So groove, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Groove. Let's have a cycle to reset. Alright, here comes the variation again. 1, 2, 3, Now let's try it. Doing the groove, subida, and variation. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Groove. One more time, that same thing. Subida, variation, back to the groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to continue the subida. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Just a little my own variation. Now let's go backwards. Let's do the variation. Subida, back to the groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Subida, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of like that arrangement better, doing the variation and then the subida. So let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Subida. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Alright, so that one is really fun. I want to play it just right now a little bit up tempo so you can kind of hear how it would sound going full speed, because it's really cool once you get going on it. So here's more like here. Variation. And variation into the subida. It's a really cool phrase. I love it. You can do all kinds of fun stuff like that. Again, it's just a module. You can cut and paste it. You can copy it. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. But that one I think is super groovy. So, obrigado, Vaguinho, por inspiração. All right, one more. I think this is the last one. Oh, almost the last one. Second to last one. So this one I taught a few weeks ago when I was going through our Samba Enredo for Supersonic Samba School here in California. Thanks. Yeah, it's so groovy, isn't it? So this little variation here, this kind of breaks away from the norm where typically we don't have cutting happen on beat 1 like this, but this one kind of messes with the norm, and I think it's super groovy because you always think of having the cutting surdo on beats 2 and 4, and that's kind of the house that they live in. Obrigado, Fabio. I will. You too. Stay safe. Everybody stay at home. Wash your hands. Saúde. So this one is kind of breaking the expectation and leaving beat 2 empty and putting it on beat 1, and it kind of changes the conversation between the high and low notes. So typically your low surdos are walking bing boom and bing dong ging dong do kiki ding dong ging dong ging do kiki ding dong ging ging. Then you change it ding dong ging do kiki dong ding dong ging do kiki dong. It just changes this conversation, this phrase that's been happening on the surdo, and it's really interesting to the ear as a listener to suddenly have this basically a bass line change its format from something you've been hearing ding dong bing ging do kiki ding dong ging do kiki ding dong ging ging do kiki ding dong kiki do kiki ding. It's really an exciting part when that happens, and I love that on this drum. So. take note of this part. It's super cool. So counting wise, you're going to play right after beat 1, starting with your hand, of course, on beat 1. 1 E, 2, 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. Just that much. 1 E, 2, 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. Just that much. 1 E, 2, 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. Sorry, I forgot we were doing that much. 1 E, 2, 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. I'm skipping the last 2 beats for now. Don't worry about those just yet. 3, 4, 1 E, 2, 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. Now, again, we've already done this 3E, 4E many times. 3E, 4E, and just the trick is after going 3E, 4E, 1E, 2, you're continuing it for 1 beat. There's going to be no pause. Even though we're restarting the bar and going back to the start of the bar, there can be no pause between 3E, 4E, 1E, 2, 3 and 4E, 1E, 2, 3 and 4E, 1E, 2. So this whole long phrase that crosses over the bar line, which we don't do too much in these kind of cuttings. So let's make sure we inherently want to put a pause there. Just make sure you don't pause. Just plow on through it. So let's do this whole cycle. I'm just going to loop it. No pause in between. Going to loop it over and over until we get nice and comfortable with it. 2, 3, 4. 1 E, 2, 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. 3 E, 4 E, 1 E, 2. 3 and 4 E, 1 E, 2. 3 E, 4 E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully that's starting to feel a little bit comfortable. So let's go from the basic pattern and go into this one. I'm even going to slide this bad boy over so we can get a better visual representation of it. Sweet. Okay, so again, when we're coming out of our basic part, there's going to be no pause. You're just going to continue what you already played on beat 4 and play it again on beat 1. Don't let yourself hesitate. Just plow right into it. Okay, so let's do the basic pattern. We'll repeat it. We'll do it twice, and then we'll go into this variation and then back to the groove. 2, 3. Hey, Jenny. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. One more time. Here we go. Here's the variation. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, one more time. Here comes the variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. One more time. Variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, E, 2. 3 and 4, E, 2. 3, 4, E, 1. Sweet. So let's now add in the subida, because everybody loves a good subida. So let's do this whole phrase now. A little off center. Oh, nope, not touching that one. All right, so let's get into our groove, and then we will do the variation, do the subida, do the variation, all that good stuff. So groove, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, E over E and 2 and 4, E over E and 2, E over E and 1. Now let's reverse it. Let's do the variation and the subida, and then back to the groove. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, Sweet. Alright, let's move on to the last one. Alright, this one I just wanted to throw in just to get people comfortable with doing off-key 16th notes forever, because this happens sometimes. We do a lot of this on the ands, and then we can also do a lot of the ias. You don't want to go too long with these because it tends to mess with your other Surdo players, because these guys are holding down the beat, being rock steady, bing, boom, and if you're constantly going it kind of gets old and is a little too syncopated, but throwing it in every once in a while, just like a little extra pepper in your sauce, it can be overwhelming, but if you do just little bits of it, it adds this kind of busyness, almost like a boiling idea, that is really nice and can add a lot of energy, especially when you come out of it and finally land in your actual groove. It's really satisfying to come back to the simple part after you do all this crazy stuff. It feels really nice, and that's this drum's job, is to add flavor, add spice, add excitement and complexity, and then finally land in the groove and just hold that groove and make it swingy. So let's look at this one. It's basically, let me actually slide this one over. It's essentially a subida. This one's more of a subida than a variation, but you can use it as a variation. So you're basically just going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E in the first half, which is exactly the same thing. Oops, why did I keep grabbing that? Sorry. Exactly the same thing as the second half of the subida that's already written up there, the second measure. It's the same thing as here. So actually, we can do this. Cut and paste. So we're just looking at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, and then you're continuing that E all the way through the next bar. 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, 4 E, stop. And so just again, use your left hand, your anchor that's playing on the beats. 3, 4, we got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, 2 E, 3 E, 1. Same thing, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E, 2 E, 3 E. So let's get into the part, and then we'll do this little variation, and we can actually do it as the whole long subida as well. So including the bar before, we would go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. And we're in our groove. So let's just do that. We'll play it just as it's written on the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E times am I going like this? I don't know, I've been doing this forever, but my hand, 3, 4, 1, 2. You always know where you're going to come out because it's beat 4 of your hand. 3, 4, 1. It's always after beat 4. Alright, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Cool. So these are all just little tools. You can add some spice to your Surdo. Sorry, that was the one thing I'm still working on in this program. Add some spice to your Surdo game. And just to show example real quick, anytime you're coming out of a subida or a chamada from the head pique or a virada, that's when you can do all of these things. So like in this example here, hopefully you can see it beyond the thing. This is coming from a virada, this page up here. Boom, bing, boom, doom, ding, doom, ding, doom, ding, boom, ding. Tag on this variation, ding, dukiki, 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 dukiki groove. So looking at the top line of this 2 double stack thing right here, if you're just looking at the top part, you can use any of these variations that we looked over. Dungi, dukiki, dun, duki, duki, dukiki, dun, dunki, dukiki, dukiki, gum, and use them and just paste it on. Dun, ding, 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 dukiki, dun. It'd be fun to like literally physically print these out, cut and paste them, and then just rearrange them in different orders and like challenge yourself to play through them. So if any of you are dying for homework out there, I would suggest that if you can screenshot some of these and then cut and paste them. And actually I made a PDF on Finale. I can put that out there in the world and you guys can just cut and paste these things up and use any combination of these things. And same thing over here, like if we're coming from this, from the chamada, you can just put this right there. Any of these, you just cut and paste them, put them in a different spot, and it works just fine. This one too. So I've said it a bunch, it's modular, it's all modular. Whatever you want to do, you can just throw them in. There are rules to this as far as like sticking to the clave, sticking to the on-beat and off-beat side of it. But if you use these measures, I think this is a really good template for you to start to experiment on your own. Yes, Desha, I'll share these up with you and with everybody. I'll put it in a comment once I get off here. I'll go and clean up that PDF and send it to you guys. So I think that's all I want to get into right now in this class. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to do my my jam out at the end, and I'm going to play through all of these in no particular order, but just play it up to tempo so you can hear kind of how they all fit. So once again, thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you spending part of your Sunday with me. All the information, if you want to donate or contribute a little bit, is down there. So I really appreciate you guys are keeping me going during these difficult times, and I hope this is helping you guys out and giving you something to do. I'll be posting this on my YouTube channel as well and sharing all that good stuff. So thank you again. Happy Sunday. Stay safe, stay home, wash your hands, and I can't wait to the day we all actually get to play in person together again. So let's jam. everyone has a good time practicing at home. Thanks again, and I will catch you all next time. Peace.